Hey guys, my name is Ryan and welcome to Overwatch Central. So we've already done a video today talking about the latest changes on the PTR. For those that don't know, it's a real big buff to heroes like Genji and Lucio that if they get killed trying to use their ultimate, they actually get to keep them for the next time. Meaning that if you're a Lucio, you're jumping in the air about to break it down and you get sniped out of the air, you still have your ultimate because you didn't actually hit the ground. Now this has changed for a lot of heroes. Instead of having 100% or maybe 80-70% of an ultimate because you got interrupted as you were using it, everybody gets 0. All of their ultimate is used up, and it can be wasted with a well-timed flashbang, hook, or even an Ana sleep dart. So in this video, we wanted to actually go over all of the heroes, which ones are affected by being CC'd during the animation of their ultimate, and which ones can actually be interrupted by well-timed CC. Some of these results are actually incredibly bizarre, so we wanted to show these off in this video. Let us know your predictions at the start, and then see how they actually turn out in this video. But let's get started. Okay, so let's look through each of the ultimates, see which ones get interrupted, starting with, of course, Doomfist, which doesn't actually go through, he can still travel through. So as you've seen, even when the flashbang comes out, he can still jump up into the air. You do see the ultimate used a lot to get out of tricky situations as well, so it would make sense that that would happen. Next up is Genji, which is one of the main ones that does actually get interrupted. The first time me and Miska sort of counted in, so he would flashbang when I ulted, but the second time, I actually sort of did I will ult anytime from now and you have to try and interrupt it. And even then, it's really easy to telegraph and really easy to interrupt. So as you see, the animation goes through, the ultimate gets used up, but there's no sword to slash with. McCree versus McCree is very similar to how it used to play out. Before, you might get a little bit of ultimate charge for being interrupted so early into the ultimate's usage, but nowadays it's just a straight 0%. Whilst we were McCree versus McCree, I might as well show you it from the other perspective. As you can see, the animation is being used, the flashbang has gone through, but nothing's actually happening. Even includes the tumbleweed. Now you get to the likes of Pharah and Reaper, and of course Roadhog, who we'll get onto it in a bit. These are fairly standard. Before, when you interrupted Pharah in this situation as alive, you would have some ult percentage left, and the same goes for Reaper. Nowadays, the change means that you are on 0% no matter how quickly you get interrupted into your ultimate. So Pharah and Reaper players, you need to be very careful. But you're kinda used to it already. It's just a little bit more strict on you. Now this is probably the most interesting one on the list. Even though you're seeing Soldier getting interrupted, his ultimate going down to 0, it still actually gets to be used. It's very similar to how Genji's ultimate works. When you pull out the sword, he puts on his visor, but instead of getting interrupted and not going through, it still does. So it's really interesting that Soldier's ultimate doesn't get interrupted, yet Genji's does. This, if it's meant to be this way, is a huge buff that is in favor of Soldier, meaning that his ultimate can't be interrupted no matter what. Now the Sombra EMP, what do you think? Will it get interrupted? It does actually. The timing has to be impeccable. It's really hard to do. So if you do manage to interrupt a Sombra that's trying to ultimate, it's more luck than anything. But do bear that in mind if you play a lot of McCree, Ana, and of course Roadhog. Tracer's Bomb actually disappears if you ultimate at the right time. It's similar to Sombra that the timing has to be on point, but still it's crazy that Tracer's Bomb, which is a projectile, can actually be interrupted to the point that the animation goes through, but the bomb disappears. Bastion has a really funny animation that when you flashbang him as he's ulting, he just randomly transforms into the tank. Much like Soldier, it's uninterruptible, meaning that Bastion is safe from these changes. It's good to know that something is going Bastion's way for once. Hanzo's ult actually does get interrupted, and it's really easy to telegraph as well. So that's definitely worth bearing in mind if you play a lot of McCree, Roadhog, and Ana. Junkrat's is very similar. You putting down the ultimate can actually get stunned out. Tire disappears and you are on 0 ultimate charge. So again, be very careful with how you use these ultimates in the middle of a fight. Mace projectile, much like Tracer's Bomb, can actually be interrupted. It disappears, you're on 0%, and Snowball actually disappears into nothingness. Does Torbjorn's Molten Cog get interrupted? It actually doesn't. It still goes through, much like Soldier and Bastion. Even though you get interrupted during the animation, you still manage to go through. Another one of those maybe not ultimates that we were thinking about before. Same goes with Widowmaker. Does it actually interrupt Infrasight? It doesn't. It still goes through even though you do get stunned. We tried this a couple of times at different starts of the animation and it still went through every single time. There were a few things that we wanted to try with D.Va. First of all, you can get stunned as you're coming out of the mech, but it doesn't stop it or cancel it. It still goes through, which is, you know, fair enough. Now the interesting one I wanted to try is what happens when you try and get back into the mech when you're getting stunned, and it's really easy to stun lock a D.Va in this situation. Next up is Orisa. Does it affect the bongo? No, it still goes through, even though you can see it says stunned on the screen as she's plonking the bongo down. It still works just fine, which again is very good news for Horseman. Next up is Hammer Down actually interruptible? It is. That's huge for Reinhardt players that you can actually be stunned out of using Hammer Down, especially if you get knocked up in the air as you're using it, much like Lucio, so be very careful with any future Hammer Downs that you want to do. It means that the days of jumping off a ledge and trying to Hammer Down are well and truly over if you value your ultimate usage. Next up, Hog ultimate, much like Reaper and Pharah. Before, Roadhog would get some ultimate charge back from being stunned out so early here, but as you've seen, he gets absolutely nada nowadays. Next up is Winston. The first time we tried it, it was a really interesting reaction. Check that out. So it still normally goes through. That time wasn't necessarily the right timing for it. But as you're sort of seeing here, much like the Soldier, the Bastion, and the Torbjorn, even though you're getting stunned during the animation, it still goes through. Does Zarya's projectile get eaten much like Tracer's and May's? It doesn't, which is good luck really for the Graviton, which is a very tricky ultimate to get off anyway. Let's look at Ana, who actually does get the nano boost eaten by being interrupted, which I think is crazy. The timing, again, much like Sombra and Tracer, has to be on point, but still, you need to be very careful that that doesn't happen to you as an Ana. Lucio is one of the main ones we covered. If you jump up into the air and get stunned on your way down, the ultimate doesn't go through, and all of the ultimate usage at the bottom does get used up. So much like Reinhardt, don't try Lucio ult off the side of a building, as if you get stunned, you will not be able to use it. Next up is Mercy. Does the new ultimate get interrupted? As you're seeing, she can't actually still sort of pull it off. Even though I'm not like doing anything here, you can see in the middle that she can still fly around and stuff. So it does go through. You don't need to worry about that, Mercy players, don't worry. Symmetra's teleport is a bit of an iffy one to sort of show, but it doesn't get interrupted. But the main one is that Zenyatta still can ultimate in that situation, even though he gets, you know, interrupted whilst he's doing so, it still goes through. So again, Zen players, you don't need to necessarily worry about that. And that's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching. Do let us know what you think of the results. I'm very surprised about the Soldier ultimate for once still being able to go through. Tracer's ultimate, Sombra's EMP, and Ana nano boost actually being interrupted by a flashbang or a hook or, you know, anything that CCs them is incredible, and it means that you have to be very careful when using them. Let us know what surprised you in the comments below, and until next time, take care. We'll see you then.